Hey, good morning and happy Wednesday. I've done a couple seminars and a lot of coaching calls already this week, and you know, I'm inspired by some of the reports that I'm reading that are telling us that the market's getting better. That price points are increasing, transaction count is up. And then on the flip side, of course, you read the next bit of news, and it says, the world's falling apart, and there's 8 billion foreclosures coming on Tuesday, and the world's coming to an end. So I don't think that's the issue. To me, it's not the issue of is the market getting better, is it getting worse. I think the bigger issue when I'm talking to people, people like you, this is what I'm hearing, is we're struggling with every transaction. It doesn't matter if transaction count is up, doesn't matter if price point is up. What matters is, can you help that seller in the moment accept the price, and can you have that buyer in the moment move from I want a deal. You know what I'm talking about. Every seller wants more money and can't sell for less, and every buyer doesn't want to be the one that overpays. But of course, when you might be sitting behind 60 offers, it's almost impossible. So we know there's that great divide between buyers and sellers today, and I don't have to tell you, you know it because you're living it every single day. I'm hearing about it on every coaching session. So I guess the thought for you today is, what are the questions you're using to engage your customers and help move them off the stick? See, negotiations is the ability to find a mutual win-win, a mutual acceptance point between your buyer, between your seller, between those customers. So at the end of the day, a transaction is done and the world moves forward. That's really what this is all about. So I want to give you 4 questions, and you can choose to ask these 4 questions in a row, which is what many of my personal clients have done, or you can use these in one-offs. And what they're designed to do is, think of it as like in sales, we call it a pattern interrupt. If the seller's just stuck on, I got to get $1,699,000 or whatever the price is, and the comps and everything else that's in the marketplace, that property's going to sell for $1,450,000, and your buyer is wanting to offer $1,350,000, you've got to create some movement with that seller, with that buyer, to bridge the gap. So whether you choose to use one of the questions or all 4 questions, I hope you take these questions and you really take them to heart, and you use these or something to begin to get some movement with those buyers and sellers. Because you know what? Doesn't matter what's happening in the market. What matters is your skill and your ability to influence people and create a yes. So here's the 4 questions. Question number 1. What happens if you do, now again, buy, sell, whatever context you're looking for, reduce your price, so keep it context specific. I'll just do it with buying. What happens if you do buy the house? And you got to stop and explore. What happens if you do buy the house? Well, we move in, we stop renting, we finally make a decision, we get to close the deal, they get completion in their life. And that's what you got to get them present to. What happens if you do buy the house? Question number 2, what happens if you don't? Now, this is a pain-based question. It's going to elicit the struggle and the hardship that they're going to continue to experience if they don't come up on the price, or they don't, say yes and move forward. So what happens if you don't? And you really need to look them in the eyes. This is not an email that you send. This is, heart-to-heart, knee-to-knee negotiation. What happens if you don't buy? What are you going to do then? What's your plan B? Are you going to continue to rent? Are you going to continue to look for property? Are you going to continue to go down this path of writing offer after offer after offer and not getting what you want? So question number 1, what happens if you do? Question number 2, what happens if you don't? Question number 3, what won't happen if you do? What won't happen if you buy the house? Now, that's a tricky question, but listen to the psychology. What won't happen if you buy the house? See, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the negative. We're getting them in their mind to process, well, what isn't going to happen is I'm not going to have to go out and look at 50 more homes. I'm not going to have to keep writing all these crazy offers. I'm going to, finally move in and get completion. So again, you and I both know, remember, sales is the ability to ask a series of questions that naturally and automatically lead you and the prospect to a mutually desired end result. Sales isn't something you do to someone. It's questions that you ask that cause the consumer, the person, the human being on the other end of the phone or face-to-face to process through their questions and get to the yes. So critical question, what won't happen if you do buy the house? And then the last one, what won't happen if you don't buy? What won't happen if you don't buy? Now, I hope you write down those 4 questions. You don't just say this to someone, what happens if you do? you know what kind of response you're going to get. You got to internalize these, you got to emotionalize them, you got to make them a part of you, and you got to recognize that you're not asking these questions to close someone. You're asking these questions to allow them to process through the issues that they're experiencing that's stopping them from moving to reality around price. Now, I know for many of my customers, here's what they're telling me. Wow, those questions, use number 1, 2, 3, use all 4. Sometimes it's just one. We never know what's going to be the question that gets that buyer and seller off the fence. So what's the message of the day? It's not the market. It's your skill and your ability to create the yes. So remember always, strategy matters and passion rules.